28-year-old Benjamin Netanyahu explains his point of view on where Palestine belongs and what should be done.
What the PLO Information Office said in a Dutch paper in 1977, in May 5th.
77?
May 5th, 1977, yes. The statement was very simple. Our objective remains the destruction of the Zionist state of Israel. So let's keep in mind that what we're talking about here is not the attempt to build a state, but to destroy one.
Do the Palestinians have a right to a separate state?
Now, no one is denying that there are Palestinian Arabs. There's a very distinguished Palestinian Arab sitting right next to me. But the Palestinians themselves, in the Palestinian National Covenant, the very first article, say that the people of Palestine, quote, are part of the Arab nation. Well, let's look at the Arab nation. It has 21 states, an area roughly the size of the United States, and 1/6 of the entire world's wealth. Now, add to that the fact that there already exists a Palestinian state, and that is Jordan, 60% of whose population is Palestinian. I think it's quite interesting that Yasser Arafat and King Hussein, who are bitter enemies, agree on one thing, that Jordan is a Palestinian state. So what we're talking about is a demand for a 22nd Arab state and a second Palestinian state.
What should be done with the Palestinians on the West Bank? There's a problem, so what should be done, in your opinion?
Well, I think that the Palestinians in the West Bank are going to be offered the full human rights, the full civil rights, as no Arabs are offered in the Middle East. No Arabs whatsoever have any full human rights or the right to vote for their own government. Those Arabs who lived in Israel in the pre-67 boundaries are the only Arabs in the Middle East who offer that right, and I'm all in favor of having the same Arabs living in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip being offered such a right in the final peace agreement.
Can we have peace in the Middle East?
Very briefly, please.
Yes, I sincerely hope so. Look, I'm 28 years old. I've had to defend my country in 2 wars and in many battles. Nobody wants peace more than Israel. But the stumbling block to the road for peace is this demand for a PLO state, which will mean more war, which will mean more violence in the Middle East. And I sincerely believe, if this demand is abandoned, we can have real and genuine peace.
Iranian woman explains the hypocrisy of Iranian regime and those who are supporting them, when Iranian regime says they have the right to defend themselves.
Hi, Iranian woman here. It's become very apparent that you haven't been listening to anything that we've had to say for the past 2 years. But I was wondering if you could just lend me a few minutes of your time in this ungodly hour to hear us now. We've had to watch over the past 24 hours people clambering onto the internet to exclaim that Iran has the right to defend itself. In what capacity have you distorted this story to make the Islamic Republic the victim? That's I think what we're most curious about. When we were screaming for the past 2 years that they were lynching us, where were you? When we were screaming that they were killing Iranian women for not wearing a hijab, where were you? When they were lynching Iranian men from cranes for protesting, where were you? When we were explaining that this is a terrorist occupying force, where were you? But all of a sudden, everyone's graduated from Instagram School of Law to say that this is a violation of international law and Iran has the right to defend itself. First of all, you're not talking about Iran, you're talking about the Islamic Republic. What the Islamic Republic does is not a reflection of the Iranian people. We've been clear about what we want, which is peace. Second of all, you may have discovered the Middle East yesterday, but the Middle East didn't start existing yesterday. If you want to talk about an act of war, just a few days ago, a federal court determined that the attacks on Israeli embassies and Jewish centers in Argentina were conducted by the Islamic Republic and Hezbollah. That was in the 90s. That was in the 90s. Was that an act of war? How about the terror proxies that the Islamic Republic has created to foster regional instability? What did you think that they were there for? What did you think Hezbollah was there for? Hamas, Houthis, the militia groups in Iraq and Syria. Did you think that they were there to instigate a system of public schooling, education, to feed the poor, house the unhoused? What did you think that they were there for? Is that an act of war? Was October 7th an act of war? Are the rockets that Hezbollah fires into northern Israel on a near daily basis an act of war? And so when these senior IRGC commanders meet up with Hezbollah in an IRGC military base, okay, not an Iranian embassy, and Israel strikes, your response is to say that that is an act of war. If you had listened to us for the past 2 years, much less the past 45 years, you'd know that Iranians don't want war with Israel. We want peace with Israel. Iranian people inside of Iran have come out and said this over and over and over again. It's you that wants war with Israel. It's your hatred for Israel and your hatred for Jews that's pulling us into a war that we didn't ask for. Have we not suffered enough for the past 45 years that we now have to be used as pawns for your fantasies about war with Israel? Leave us alone. We don't want that. So if you want to support the Islamic Republic in putting Iranians' lives at risk and everyone's lives at risk, they just killed a 10-year-old Bedouin boy for this. Is that what you wanted? Then just come out and say that with your whole chest. Say you support the Islamic Republic in their continued aggressions that put everybody's lives at risk. But don't say Iran. For 2 years, we asked you to come out and say free Iran. And now you want to speak up to put our lives at risk and say go to war, Iran. You are no friend to the Iranian people for that.
Let me debunk the lies and talk about the synagogue that was attacked by the definitely not anti-Semitic, just anti-Zionist, pro-Palestinian side, where our good friend Cam Higbee and others were sprayed with bear spray by the pro-humanitarian, definitely not violent side. So what was the reason for attacking a synagogue? Well, they said that the synagogue was holding an event to illegally sell land in West Bank settlements. Labeling this anti-Semitism makes you look like the world's blah. And in it, the geniuses posted this. As proof they were selling land in illegal settlements in the West Bank. I thought it was a little weird because 1, it says Israel, and 2, it doesn't even show an area that would be in the West Bank. But they couldn't even take the time to just go to the website, again, of what they showed as proof. And they show what they're selling. So, not the West Bank, not the West Bank, still not the West Bank. And it goes on, still not the West Bank. Also not the West Bank. So let's recap. Their reason to attack people and go to a synagogue was not because of anti-Semitism. No. It was because they're selling in illegal settlements in the West Bank. And here's the proof with the website. And none of it was true. They made up a lie to justify their anti-Semitism, probably lied to others to get them to believe it as well. So did they attack a synagogue and it was justified because they're trying to sell land in illegal settlements in the West Bank? Absolutely fucking not. Stay smarter than them. That's a pretty easy task.
Senator Britt explains the difference between 9/11 and October 7th for their own people.
The horrifying footage of those Hamas terrorists with the GoPro cameras strapped to their heads and their chest. When we talked to the Israeli officials, we mentioned 9/11. And they said, yes, it's similar, but I want you to understand why it's different. You were able to wake up on September 12th and tell your kids that the perpetrator was oceans away. We woke up on October 8th, and the people who want to eradicate this entire population are just miles down the road. I want you to think of what we're asking for parents in Israel who are tucking their children in at night. These disgusting, barbaric terrorists. They're not going after soldiers. They're coming after babies and beheading them. We watch them rape women. We watch them pull Holocaust survivors from their wheelchair. We watch them burn parents alive in front of their children. This is what we are up against. You cannot, in good conscience, ask parents to tuck their kids at night without believing that Israel can move forward and eradicate Hamas. There are still 4 battalions in Rafah. So understand what that means for the innocent people of Israel. We must do more. Never again is now. And I urge the President of the United States to not be the very first president to not stand with Israel. They are our greatest ally, and they deserve us to stand shoulder to shoulder with them as they fight the evil that is Hamas.
I'm not aware of any athlete ever treated like Caitlin Clark when they're growing a sport in the history of men's sports. Caitlin Clark, white woman, getting ripped for bringing new fans to a league which is majority non-white. Why, when Tiger Woods came into golf, the men's golf world overwhelmingly support him, and why did all the media cheer it? While when Caitlin Clark comes into the WNBA, almost universally her fans are being attacked. They're racist, they're sexist, they're MAGA Trump supporters. And the idea that she would be in the league and increasing its popularity is being attacked as well. What's different? All she does is just want to play basketball, and she doesn't do anything offensive, and she doesn't blame anyone, and she doesn't do anything that actually causes any kind of issue at all. I mean, Tiger Woods, minority, when he blew up golf bigger than it ever had been, treated as an incredible thing, while Caitlin Clark trying to do the same thing for the WNBA is treated as an awful thing. I thought diversity, inclusion, and growth was a great thing. Caitlin Clark having done nothing wrong at all and just being the Tiger Woods of the WNBA.